All right. What's going on, guys? If you're watching the YouTube version of this, you can see that we have empty teacups because we finished recording for 35 minutes and we had to scrap it.
Yes, sir.
So do us a favor. Check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/thoughtfulbanter. You can check us out. It's a great way for you to support us. We've had like a couple people say, hey, bro, can I support you guys out financially? Yes, you can at patreon.com because we want that. We want them paychecks. We don't want those donations. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah.
No, but jokes aside, we will come up with like a something of a wish list. So if anyone wants to contribute to anything, but maybe doesn't want to keep continuous recurring $5 payments, that's fine.
$5, $25
because I'm sure there's always equipment that we could use, and that will be put out soon or be available to anyone who asks how they can support us.
Absolutely. I mean, and also shout out to you guys. The Instagram has been blowing up. The YouTube has been doing very well. We are on Spotify for strictly because we had people ask us to be on Spotify. So we're on Spotify. If you're on YouTube right now, you're like, I need to go driving around. I don't got YouTube Red. Don't worry about it. Just search up Thoughtful Space Banter on Spotify, and you can listen to us on your car right now. Hussein and I are here today to talk about Black History Month. Hussein, would you like to take it?
So before we jump into Black History Month, I just want to say we are in the month of the moon month of the lunar calendar month of Rajab. This is a holy month for Muslims. As the hadith goes, Rajab is the month of Allah, Sha'ban is the month of the Prophet, and Ramadan is the month of the Prophet's Ummah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
SubhanAllah.
Rajab is a very spiritual time. It's the beginning of the spiritual season. We're not even allowed to fight in this month.
Not even self-defense? Someone swings at you, you can't swing back?
Probably not, but I'm not sure. I'd have to double check. But anyway, probably not.
Wait, probably not as in like you probably... You can or can't?
Probably can defend yourself.
Okay.
Attacks you.
I'm about to say, bro.
But I don't know for sure. So don't take my word for it. Anyways, it's very recommended to fast if you can. So just a reminder for everyone, ourselves first and foremost, not to let the blessings and the spiritual significance of this month pass us by.
Thank you for that. Ya Sheikh.
Again, we're also in February, which is Black History Month, which is also coincidentally the shortest month of the year. But let's not get into that.
White man's work.
But let's not get into that. I just want to talk a little bit, I guess, about my experience with Black history before we together start going over some of the points that we want to bring up. So I guess for myself, my experience, my journey with Black history, for me, I always kind of had a hard time connecting to Black History Month. I was like, what's so special about Black History Month?
I always connected. I never had that problem.
What's so special about Black History Month? I knew that, like, as a Black person, I was supposed to observe it and feel good about observing it. And I always learned about specific abolitionists, activists that did great things for the Black community and advanced the Black, struggle and brought it to the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I was always kind of just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do exactly, or if I'm supposed to be happy. I just didn't know. And so for that reason, I kind of disconnected from it. And then as I got older, maybe like 17, 18, 19, that disconnect became like greater. I started being interested in like, purely intellectual pursuits and kind of wanted to discard any emotional or subjective opinions about, the Black experience in America.
Were you watching a lot of Ben Shapiro back then?
It was very cringy.
Oh, God.
Very cringy. But along this way, I'm not going to tell you exactly how I came back, but I found that my thinking was incorrect, and basically I kind of have a clear idea of why I struggled to connect with Black History Month. And I think it's because, to me, my understanding of there was no distinction between Black History Month and American history.
Mm-hmm.
All of it was quite kind of intertwined together and inseparable, in my opinion.
Initially, before finding the interest in the month, right?
Yeah, and so I still think it's that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I simultaneously, I understand the reason why you'd want to kind of celebrate something that has there have been many attempts to kind of erase. So I understand the significance of Black History Month from that aspect, but I still am of the opinion that Black history is American history. Everything that we've done, the legacy of this country has kind of been built around slavery. Even the number of representatives that you have in the House of Representatives
Mm.
for your state. Like all this stuff was dependent on slavery.
We have to have in the future a session just based on that kind of stuff because I am completely unaware of even that. Like
yeah,
that,
I mean,
Woo.
all this stuff is like
That's
the
insane.
legacy, if you want to call it that,
Mhm.
or the history of slavery is like has its stain on like all of American
Everything
history.
American.
pretty much. But anyways, that brings us into our specific topic for the day. I think today was the death anniversary of Shaheed Malcolm X.
Mhm.
The day we're recording this, which is Sunday, February 21st. And I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about him, talk about his life, talk about his legacy, because I think there is a lot that we can learn from him. Muslims can learn from him. Everyone can learn from him.
Every single
And
person.
unfortunately, a lot of people don't know about him. A lot of people know about Martin Luther King, and this is not a knock on Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King did great things. He's also been kind of whitewashed, and it's all about the "I have a dream" speech and not about some of his more radical stances.
Completely whitewashed.
But
Oh,
this is
God.
not the podcast to get into that. Right now, we're going to be talking about Malcolm
We're
X.
too woke, bro. If you guys want to hear the real opinions of ours, go to patreon.com
Yes.
where we take off the cap. Right here we got the cap on, not too tight, a little bit. no nothing leaking out the cap, but I'm gonna skip over this cringy cap analogy. Malcolm X, I mean, like I just want to quickly say, like, dude, it's crazy because Dr. King, they watered down, and Malcolm X in school, I wasn't public schooled, but I hear from my friends who went to public school, while Dr. King was watered down, it's like, like just I guess the happy-go-lucky Santa Claus figure,
Yeah.
and Malcolm X was put basically as this terrorist, extremist, which that's not what he was either. They have taken both of these great men and put them in areas where they do not belong, so that they can control them, so that they can take people away from the truth that they were getting towards, very close to, and that they were also going to bring their people towards, because they had such a large impact on followers. Both men had to be killed because their words were so powerful.
Yeah.
Just think about that. Imagine you're a human being, that your words are so powerful that the only way to stop you is death.
I think I was reading today. I saw an article, and we can link it in the description. It was about the FBI's conspiracy in the death of Malcolm X. It was a very interesting article. I'm not going to go over all the details because I don't remember all the details, and I don't want to like misrepresent anything. But we'll link it in the description, and if we don't, someone comment and remind us, because it's a very good read.
So I guess Hassan and I are going to go taking turns talking about just a couple of reflections on Malcolm X, because there are literally books on Malcolm X.
Yeah.
They're
There's a lot to say about.
There's a lot to say. We can't possibly encapsulate all that information into a podcast, so we're going to keep underneath an hour. I guess I'll go first.
Yeah.
Malcolm X to me is just the perfect example for anyone who's trying to be a truth seeker, because Malcolm in his entire life, he never used his situation as an excuse. He never got too emotionally attached to whatever he previously
notions.
believed or knew or understood, despite how much what he understood
was his reality.
to be his reality,
Yeah.
to be even true. Because we can't deny the fact that reality is experience, right? Like, if your whole life something happens to you, whether that thing be true or not, that is your reality.
Yeah.
So his whole life, if he's being put down, and he was being put down, his father was lynched by white people, I would think that white people were blue-eyed devils.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that. That's my reality.
Yeah.
That if I see all around me that, hey, I'm dark, every single person who's white is oppressing me and people who look like me, well, devils. It's plain and clear.
So in his autobiography, he talks about when he's like in the streets, and he's basically this woman, one of like the wife of one of the pimps. He basically talks about how he taught him all there was to know about like the dirt and like the grittiness of the white man. And again, like just speaking to your point you made, all these things that he was experiencing, the injustice, and then like the dirty, like grimy side that he's seeing with these white men with their prostitutes, is all shaping and forming his reality.
Yeah.
You know?
And yet, whenever the moment he sees something before him that says the opposite of what he is known to be reality, he's like, you know what? I have to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
He's someone who seeks the truth, myself included. So many people just accept with what we want to accept, and what we want to be in our realities.
Yeah.
You know, like you see that with racist people just have hard, I guess, hard-headedness. Like, oh, no, this is what I believe.
It's because we have, and it's not only like a belief as in that we believe in as a fact of reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's we attach our ego to these quote unquote truths, you know?
Yeah.
And so when something challenges that, you're not just challenging the truth of that fact.
Mm-hmm.
You're challenging the person's ego identity
Your
themselves.
ego, your identity.
You know?
So you can't lose.
Exactly.
Because changing your opinion is losing.
Yeah, and so you touched on basically
Wow.
for me, the biggest takeaway in the story of Malcolm X's life is that ability that whenever he was faced with truth, he just accepted it and took it, and it didn't take, and he wasn't bitter about it. He wasn't upset about it. I mean, you see that from his life. He's young. His parents revolutionaries in their own right. His dad is lynched. His mom is put in a mental institute. He starts running the streets. He goes to prison. He meets people that change his perspective.
Mm-hmm.
He starts reading books. He starts understanding something different
Mm-hmm.
immediately. And it doesn't take it, and all the experiences that he had up to that point said one thing, and then he went to prison, learned more about life,
Mm-hmm.
and his opinion changed
Change.
just based off the information that he got.
And that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. Be humble in front of the truth.
Yeah. Except, and I mean, like, we can't possibly encapsulate every single moment of his life, but we see, he goes through a massive change going to prison, a massive change, and then he dedicates his entire existence to this cause of what he thinks to be Islam at the time, to Elijah Muhammad, putting his life like. Putting Elijah Muhammad like as his everything, like dedicating himself
that was his
to
wali.
him. Literally his wali. Like he literally at the time believed him to be a prophet of God, and that's how he treated him. And then the moment he went and he experienced Islam at Hajj, and he writes in his letter, and Hussein has his letter. I don't know if you want to read a snippet of that later on, but in his letter he mentions his experience, and he plainly says, "Listen, I have to change my opinion. Like I have to, because I see the truth before me. I can't deny it. Like I see white people here treating me with as if I'm literally one of their brothers. Like we're making salat together, we're praying. And I don't know if you guys like have seen pictures of Hajj. Maybe you're somewhat upon this and you're not Muslim. Look at Hajj. Like you're crammed next to someone else.
Yeah.
So you can't have cooties in Hajj. You can't like not be okay with being literally like squished next to someone else, right? So imagine your whole life in America, there's segregation, white people hate you, you go to Hajj, and you're this white guy's next to you, like sitting like this close, pushed up against each other. He rips off a piece of his bread, hands it to you, you're sharing the same cup of water.
And again, it wasn't just like Malcolm had held this abstract belief that the white man was the devil. Like this was a belief reinforced by the realities that he lived. This is like his lived experience. Again, and it's so easy to get yourself wrapped up in that, and wrapped up in that injustice you felt about your own situation, injustice you felt about other people situation. But still, despite all of that, one instance of going to Hajj, and he sees Muslims of all colors, he's like, okay, this has to be it. And this contradicts literally everything that I've known.
That's crazy.
Again, completely humble, completely like the embodiment of humility before the truth. And I think that's probably the most important thing that anyone can take from Malcolm X's legacy and story. And I'd advise everyone who hasn't to read his autobiography and also his biography.
Absolutely. I think it's time, unless you want to say anything, I think it's time to talk about him and now the Muslim communities that we have before us today. Because it's very, very upsetting to see who we were given, and I do say given, who we were blessed to have on this earth. And I'm not no one get my words twisted. I'm by no means saying he was a perfect human being, right? But he was certainly a special person, and he certainly provided guidance for a lot of people, and he was a great example for a lot of people. And what we have today, I feel like is honestly is not sufficient at all in our communities. I mean, imagine if Malcolm X walked in to your typical Iranian center, your typical Desi center. How would he be treated? Would we be like, would we say salam to him, or say, excuse me, sir, what are you doing here? Are you here to steal our Qurans? You know, like it's just we are completely disconnected from who he is as American Muslims, and this makes me want to even ramble about another point. But I'll let you.
No,
go.
continue your ramble. Continue your rambling.
I'm very upset. I'm very upset. I mean, I feel like we are so disconnected as American Muslims. We call ourselves American Muslims, or maybe we don't. But the truth of the matter is, if you live in America and you are winning from the privileges of being American, you are American.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times we come to this country to get a better life, but we want to stick to our homeland identity, which is okay. But we also have to acknowledge the fact that you are American, right?
And your kids are American.
Your kids are American.
And your grandkids will be American.
And you have to acknowledge the fact that Islam wants us to be representatives of justice wherever we are. So if you live in India, your job is to your neighborhood be the best neighborhood possible.
And you're supposed to. There is that again. There's that emphasis Islamically on like integrating, not obviously to the extent where you lose your I guess moral values and moral codes, but integrating within your society, making sure you're known, making sure people know who you are. You know, you're supposed to know your neighbors 40 neighbors down every direction. You know,
and I mean, so if you're in India, then yeah, I guess India is your priority, right? Even me, I'm a white guy. If I go to India, India has to be my number one priority, I think, because that's where I live.
Yeah,
those are my neighbors.
Yeah.
But if I'm in America, what's my priority? Why is it like I think whenever I go to masjid, so many times I haven't been to masjid so long because like COVID actually. Yeah, but like in the past, so many times I've been to masjids when we hear sad announcements, it's not, hey guys, brothers and sisters, unfortunately, innocent black man or black woman was killed or whatever. This police brutality case. It's bombing in Pakistan. This thing in Syria. Yeah. This thing in Palestine.
And that's not to say that those things aren't important, but there has to be a balance, especially if you're living in the place where you're making those announcements.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know, you're not living, alhamdulillah, you're not living in Syria.
Yeah.
You know? And again, I just want to emphasize again, this is not saying don't talk about those things.
Yeah.
But also talk about the things that happen here.
It shows
also talk about the injustices that happen here.
It shows how out of touch we are, though. Because how much of an impact can you have on what's happening in Syria if you're not in Syria? But and also if you look at like oppression from one place trickles down oppressions to other places, you know? So if you can maybe do something about police brutality in America, that's going to change the world, I think. It has to have some kind of massive impact. Yeah. Because it's all connected somehow. But that's a different discussion. Going back to our masjids, right? I'm just trying to like think, how are we doing what we're supposed to be doing with the example that Malcolm X showed us?
Yeah. And just to, I don't know, complain more. Just complain more. As well as like integrating within our societies, whenever there is a convert, you know, these convert Muslims, we should make the space as comfortable for them as possible. I think it speaks volumes that black people are the largest like group of Muslims in America. And the vast majority of them are deprived of the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt. The vast majority of them are deprived of the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt because our brothers in faith, they do a lot of work in those communities. A lot of work in those communities.
And we gotta give credit where credit's due. And even looking at like
even looking at the Nation of Islam.
Exactly. We can say what we want about them. We know that they are we completely know that they are misguided in many areas. But they have done more for Americans and American Muslims than any center I know of. Period fact.
And like they were for Malcolm X, they were a stepping stone for a lot of people to eventually find Islam.
Exactly.
Like my grandfather today, without the nation,
Mm-hmm.
I probably wouldn't be Muslim. You know?
Yeah. SubhanAllah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Just credit where credit's due.
absolutely.
Yeah.